What's up, everybody? Jennifer here, and today I'm going to continue my series of reading Life is Short, Don't Wait to Dance by Valerie Kondos Field, and today I'm going to read Chapter 6. A peek inside my playbook. Self-awareness is probably the most important thing towards being a champion. Billie Jean King. One of the top-selling t-shirts in our student union says, "What would Coach Wooden do?" I have to admit that for years, because Coach was my greatest mentor, I felt like I needed to try to be like him. I had to keep reminding myself of the mistakes I made when I first became a head coach and tried to mimic others. As I'm writing this, I'm chuckling because my husband is a lot like Coach Wooden. I have said many times over the course of our marriage, it's so hard to be married to someone so good. For the first few years of our marriage, I kept trying to be as good as my husband. Not only an impossible task, but also extremely frustrating, restrictive, annoying, and infuriating. One day when I was in a particularly immature mood when I said to Bobby, "Don't you ever get sick of me?" With his saintly nature, he replied, "My love, I chose to marry you, the good and the brat. I don't want you to be like me, otherwise I would have married someone more like me." I will always remember after we won our 5th NCAA championship, the Los Angeles Times wrote an article about Coach Wooden and me. At one point, the reporter said to me, "You're becoming the next John Wooden." Before I could guffaw and tell him how ridiculous that was, Coach spoke up and said, "Why would she want to be another John Wooden when she can be a great Valerie Kondos Field?" I will forever remember that moment as a rite of passage to once and for all stop trying to be like others and just focus on being the best me I can be. So how do you improve yourself through the inspiration of others while still being true to you? I learned to embrace the shift in my mindset to act as if. Most of us already have a story we're living by, but it's unconscious. When you act as if, you take control and make your story conscious, even if you don't feel it's your default mode at the moment. Acting as if is a powerful tool that can put you in a position to gain experience and knowledge until you no longer need to act and instead can simply be. The most colloquial way to say this is fake it until you make it. I first incorporated this philosophy when I was 18 years old, dancing and struggling with finding the perfect diet, when I made the decision to stop thinking of myself as an overweight dancer who needed to lose weight. Instead, I started to think of myself as a lean, fit health nut. It was remarkable how quickly my habits changed from sneaking chips and overeating to only eating when I was hungry and then only eating healthy food most of the time. Part of what helped me was to observe the habits of people I felt were really fit. I found that they ate slowly, they weren't obsessed with food when it was around, and they never finished a meal. Act as if is a powerful tool. I followed their lead and gave myself a consistent internal reminder that I was a health nut. It worked. Here are a few of my act as if buttons that even today I find myself constantly pushing to reboot. I act as if I'm super healthy. For me, this means eating clean and exercising at least a few times per week. Sorry, potato chips. As much as I love you, healthy people don't eat a whole bag in a single setting. I act as if I'm organized. I need a refresh and reboot on this one a lot, sometimes multiple times a day. At home, it helps that Bobby is super organized and tidy. That makes my mess an eyesore and an unavoidable reminder of the need to change my default of being a slob. Even if I only put a few things away each day, at least I'm doing something to act as if I'm organized. Why is being organized important to me? Because I realize that when I'm somewhat organized, I spend a lot less time looking for things, get a lot less frustrated, and see what I want to accomplish daily more clearly. I can also delegate much better. I act as if I'm a morning person. This means planning my life so I get up early and get going, even on the weekends. It's important to stay on a schedule, which includes having a sleep pattern. This helps prevent me from feeling lethargic during the week when I do have to get up early. I also refuse to allow myself to say anything negative about having to get up early. Instead, I have gotten in the habit of waking up and thinking, "Yay, I get another day." I want to make it clear that there's a huge difference between acting like I can do something long enough to reap the benefits of positive behavior change and merely being a copycat and attempting to mimic the entirety of someone else. The difference between acting as if in order to be a better version of myself versus trying to be someone I'm not is a lesson that becomes crystal clear when I read other coaching biographies. I'm a voracious reader, and I've always been fascinated to learn all of the different ways someone else has found success and how they've sustained and oftentimes had to recreate success. I've become aware of the fact that we are all very different and need to forge our own master playbook for living, leading, and teaching. Reading how different New England Patriots head coach Bill Belichick is from Seattle Seahawks coach Pete Carroll, or knowing how different Suzanne Yocklin was from Greg Marsden actually encourages me to do me. This self-awareness is an awakening I see every year with the athletes going through our program. If there is one single truth I want them to learn, it's that life is a choice, which starts with our thoughts. Ask any of our recent graduates, and they'll recite to you the following statement: life is about choice, and the choices I make will dictate the life I lead. It's indisputable that our mind dictates our emotions, which in turn dictates our actions. I have heard many versions of this equation: say, believe, behave; think, feel, act; and think it, speak it, do it, to name a few. My version of this is say it, know it, own it. When I first proposed this to recruits, or to our freshmen, they think it's just another Miss Valism. I assure that it's not my philosophy, but a truth. Your brain is the most you there is. It's the only part of your body with a conscience. The rest of your body is mostly fluid, muscle, and bone. Unless you have a mental illness or disability, you have control over your thoughts. The tricky part is to actually take control of your thoughts and choose to feed the good thoughts and starve the bad ones. That's where the work lies. You need to try to figure out your why. Why do you choose to feed certain thoughts and starve others? Is there some payoff to feeding negative thoughts about ourselves or about others? Are we looking for an excuse or an out? Are we avoiding the real work? Are we afraid of failure? Maybe we choose to think mean things about someone else because it makes us feel better about ourselves, and it's easier than doing the work of self-improvement. It's common to lash out due to our own insecurities. However, we have a choice. Instead of feeding jealousy and making snide remarks to tear someone down, we can refocus on our own opportunities that have nothing to do with the other person. When we choose to cut down others, it doesn't make us taller. It chips away at our integrity and only makes us more insecure, bitter, and spiteful. Every year, I struggle not to laugh when some of our student athletes begin to make their excuses. They'll say things like, I couldn't study, my mind kept wandering, or I can't help it when I go to Mean Girl, or I'm just not a naturally happy person. That's why it takes me until halfway through the workout to be nice. Inevitably, there are some on the team, usually freshmen, who absolutely don't want to believe they have control over their thoughts. I always do my best to keep a straight face as I start the inquisition. Really? You can find a way to be happy at 9 a.m., but not at 8 a.m. because you're not a naturally happy person? Granted, it may take you a while to wake up, but you really can't decide to be kind and not be a brat until you feel like being happy? Thoughts are what we choose to say in our mind. Thoughts trigger our emotions. This process concludes with us owning our actions. Regardless of right or wrong, to own your actions means you are conscious of why you choose them in the first place. Too many of us skirt the responsibility of owning our thoughts, words, and actions, or don't believe they have the impact they do. In reality, the thoughts, words, and actions we choose are the essence of who we are. Ultimately, they dictate the life we lead. There is a Native American story that I love about taking responsibility for your thoughts. An aging grandfather sits with his grandson and explains that there's a great battle inside each of us between a bad wolf and a good wolf. The bad wolf grows and gets stronger with anger, fear, arrogance, greed, and bitterness. The good wolf gains strength through positive thoughts, kindness, empathy, compassion, generosity, and gratitude. The grandfather continues to describe the fight raging between the wolves. His grandson looks at him and asks, "Which wolf wins?" The grandfather replies, the one you feed. In Buddhism, there's a concept called fundamental darkness, which refers to the negative thoughts, energy that humans carry around with them every day. Excuse me. These thoughts and the energy that accompanies them are an example of how ignorance prevents enlightenment. Everyone's fundamental darkness is unique and personal. I translate this same philosophy to the thought bubbles. Simple, not as eerie, but just as effective. Instead of wolves or dark energy, I like to offer the image that with every incident in life hands us, we conjure up different thoughts encased in their own bubbles. I simply starve the bubbles I don't like and feed the ones I want to encourage to grow. The point is, we have a choice in which ideas we feed and which ones we starve. One of the most rewarding parts of coaching is when the girls come to the realization that they in fact do have a conscious choice over their thoughts. It's not just that they have a choice. People choose things all the time and fail to take responsibility, but that they own their choice. When they take control of their thoughts, they no longer have an out. It can be very scary at first to admit that you are accountable for your actions. It puts you in uncharted emotional terrain and you can no longer play the role of victim. However, this is the most important milestone in starting to take control of your life. While initially daunting, acknowledging that you own your thoughts is liberating and empowering. I had the Life is About Choice conversation with a coach I worked with many years ago. As a father of 4, it was interesting how he interpreted the concept. He absolutely disagreed with me and vehemently said, if someone harms my child, I'm not going to sit there and rationalize whether I go after him. I will kill him. I thought, okay, but that's not what this is about. I kept trying to get him to understand it's not about